We're back.
We are. Cheers.
It's been like a long week. I feel like I haven't talked to you in like a year. It's so
It's
much has
it's
happened.
been it's been brutal. And I've been driving like cross country from Arizona to I'm now in Cincinnati and
Mhm.
over the last few days. So my cell service has been shitty and that also explains why I have an entire bottle of wine
Yeah.
and no glass, by the way. So I got in late to Cincinnati. This is the road life from a hotel room. Got in late and there were no liquor stores or anything open. So I found a sushi restaurant that was willing to sell me this like cheap bottle of wine. I have no glass. And so
That's how we're
here we
doing
go.
it. Another episode of Cork'd Up. We are here for Rachel Luba and Jessica Kleinschmidt. Now, our wine word of the day is vibe. And Rachel was worried that she was like, are we going to even drink? Because I don't like ever say that word.
Yeah.
That is correct. I have been on literally, no pun intended, a vibe. Cheers. Saying this
Cheers.
word so much because I feel like everything literally is a vibe. Drink again, Rachel. And I think it just like it's so descriptive of everything that's going on, whether it's bad or good. You see a photo and you're like, oh, I get that. Like I feel that. It's all good. I'm super excited about this episode because it has my three favorite things. That is media, baseball, and Rachel Luba. So I'm so excited to get started. And the reason why, I mean, it has a little bit of everything. I know we had kind of a serious, I guess, podcast last time about Kyle Loesch and all the drama that you dealt with. And this time around, it's about the media and baseball. And I told you this, one of our podcasts in the past, one of the things I will never be able to say, and I will never be able to have the same resume as some of the guys I interview, whether I work with them or not, is I never played Major League Baseball. And I fucking hate that. It sucks that I can never actually say that. So the reason, and we have really cool guest coming on who's a former player turned media member, and that's Trevor Plouffe. He's played for the A's at one point, he's very well known on the Twins organization. And the reason why he's coming on beyond that is because he, along with Trevor Bauer, your client, and Bryce Harper, got called out by this guy who not only has a show on MLB Network, but just kind of is a very well-known guy in the baseball media. And we're just going to dig right into it. His name is Mad Dog Christopher Russo. And this really cool movement that was going on before baseball started was the when and where. And this was very important because people like Mike Trout and especially Mike Trout, they don't speak a lot on social media. We were waiting for baseball to start up. Hashtag blessed, it is starting back up. And that was the theme, when and where. We're ready to go. Let's do this. Everything is good. Now, Rachel, when you're dealing with your clients and everything like that, how important was it for these guys to kind of open up on social media in a sport where the guys don't do that?
Yeah. I mean, people always talk about this and they notice when you have the big players like Bryce Harper and especially Mike Trout. When Mike Trout says something, this happened to with the Astros scandal. All of a sudden you had some of the big names that never say anything. Like there were some guys you don't even know what their voice sounds like, or you've never heard them talk. When they say something, there's power there because you never really hear them speak. And they came out and just said, they voiced their hashtag, when and where. And it's powerful because we rarely hear, and again, especially from Mike Trout, we rarely hear from him. So when he says something, it's like, wow, he's like, this is the best player in our game right now. And he's saying something. So we listen.
Yeah.
And it's important. It shows like unity. You have all the guys, including the guys that never speak. They're voicing their opinions.
Yeah, and it was coming off the Players Association quote, and I was on so many radio and TV segments last week asking, what's so great about the Players Association, and it's so important to have these guys representing the players because we're not always going to be able to get a message to them. That was what the fight was entailed. But let's move on to the actual audio clip itself. Now brace your guys' selves. And hopefully y'all have a glass of wine because you're going to need it. Producer Jay, go ahead and pull up that Mad Dog rant, if you will.
Bryce Harper, he's getting paid $336 million. He's not Garrett Cole. He got paid $336 million. If you don't live up to money and you stink, as he did, I can't listen to you tell me I'm raring to go. You know what? How about last year? You were awful. Gee whiz. Come on. There is some accountability. Guys get the highest paid player in the sport, and they even make an all-star team, for crying out loud. My gosh, with that kind of money comes some responsibility. You think if Garrett Cole this year goes 7-20, or whenever we have a full year, you think people are going to say, well, you know what? So, and then he starts tweeting people, I'm raring to go for next year. You think the Yankee fans going to react? They go crazy. I wish he said that last year when he won ball games for us. My gosh, stop tweeting when you stunk. Bauer's another one. You know, ask Francona about Bauer throwing the ball into the center field bleachers when he got taken out of a game. Or Francona when he played around with a drone and broke his finger, bleeding to death on the mound in Toronto. Ask the Reds how that trade worked out. If Mike Trout tweets, I'll live with it. He's earned it. Rizzo tweets, he's a champion. I'll live with it. I'll earn it. I'll deal with that one. Harper's done nothing. He got paid $330. Machado, I don't want to hear from him either. There comes a responsibility when you make a fortune. How about me? If I'm start tweeting about a serious issue and I stunk, hey, come on, Chris, shut up. Get something done on radio first, then you can tweet. My goodness gracious. Oh, I can't lie. That's a bunch of nonsense. Perform. For that kind of money, I expect. And then they got Kevin Freeland, who was in the minor leagues last year, who stunk up the joint for the Rockies. I got to listen to him. How about win a few ball games?
That was a lot, but there's so much to dissect. The thing that stood out to me the most, like, I'm so sick of the narrative of Trevor and the drone. We all know what happened. It's so stupid, but
he also won that game.
Yeah,
or they yeah. That's always forgotten. It was in the ALCS, not the World Series, and they won.
And Terry Francona meeting with Trevor, and he throws it over the wall. That's like one of my favorite stories of all time. Like here's the thing, Matt, he's done this before. He's called out Justin Verlander before, and it's like it's kind of awkward because, you know, I'm sitting here, like I said, I'm not defending Russo at all, but I did not play Major League Baseball. So no matter what I do, the guys are always going to be a little bit better than me. But I cannot in good conscience say, hey, you know what, Bryce, you went 0 for 4, whatever, da-da-da. Like, these guys are going to have down years. Like, why talk the crap? And then he calls out Bauer, of course. And, like, Bauer had a great season last season. So it's like, how are you going to, like, get mad at Bauer?
Well, it wasn't the best. Like, it went downhill a lot once he got traded. But like my issue with it is that this idea that players cannot talk unless they're performing, you know, at their best, and unless they are the one or two stars of the game, then they are not allowed to have a voice, is everything that I think is wrong with baseball. Like, this idea that players should just shut up, we want to hear nothing from them, unless you're really, really good, unless you're the one or two, like, best players in baseball. It's this old school mentality that you're not allowed to talk. And it drives me absolutely crazy. And it's what I try to tell, you know, players as an agent, like talk, like, let people hear your voice. You're going to gain fans that way. People want to hear from you. And I think, and you talk to players, and when I talk to players, they overwhelmingly, you hear from them this idea that they feel like they cannot say anything on social media. They can't post on social media if they have a bad game. And so it's this weird, like, do I say something before a game? Because if I say it before, then what if I go out and have a bad game? Then, and I've seen it happen. Fans start telling them, get off social media and, like, maybe you'll play better or something. Right. And then if they have a bad game, they're not supposed to say anything after, because they're supposed to go home and just be sad or something, and not, like, they can't talk. And I think it's such a problem with this. I don't know. Yeah.
No. And I feel like I've tried so hard to get to the point where players can talk. And, like, one of the moments that I remember was during the trade deadline a couple seasons before the Astros acquired Justin Verlander, and Dallas Keuchel was interviewed. And it was one of the first times he was actually very outspoken, saying like, we didn't make any moves, like what the hell. And then of course Verlander ended up on the team. And I feel like that was part of the domino effect to like really have these players talk. I was just texting a player today and I was telling him our subject on the podcast, and he's like, yeah, we fucking hate the media. And he's texting a media member there,
yeah,
you know, and I'm just like, cool. And he's just like, no, like and I'm thinking, well, do you think we twist things? Which is part of it. Bowers told us this before, but he also said that the media has a tendency to want to start things or stir
they
up
shit
drama
on players.
And yeah, exactly. And I'm just sitting there like, oh, because I feel I'm like the least pushy journalist ever, and most of the time I could give two shits about who's traded or like what are you doing. It's more or less like, hey, like how's the family, you know, whatever. And I struggle with that because like I never want to throw anybody underneath the bus ever. But it's just when you hear that and somebody has the gall to tell a media member that, like, that makes you think, right? So that's why I'm always tripping out. Like, am I doing something right? Like, why are we having these reactions? And I don't know if in Russo, I don't know if he's doing like the Stephen A. Smith thing where he's like a talking head and just trying to get a reaction. But it's like baseball of all sports, I will never talk crap about. I mean, yeah, I played for up as far as I could, but it's such a difficult sport to play. And, you know, these athletes are put on certainly a pedestal, but this is a job to them, and they are given a God-given ability. And it's like, why are we so upset that like we didn't make it and they did? And it's just like,
and they worked their asses off still, like, so I don't know, the way, like the another thing that really bothers me about it is that we spend so much time, it seems like our media spends so much time shitting on the players and shitting on the sport. And you know what? It's not even media people that never played. You see it happen with former players sometimes who forget how hard the sport is. Mm-hmm. And that's why it's always refreshing to you know, see a media person even that was a former player that still remembers, right, how hard the sport is, and to not, you know, not just always be shitting on players. And I think also, like, how do you expect fans to love the sport when all you do is shit on the product? And you have like, every time I've ever heard Mad Dog's show, and it's hard for me to listen because he's just screaming. And
y'all see Rachel take a swig during the middle of that audio clip?
It's just so it's over the top. I mean, if I ever have to have it on, I remember my first internship I ever had, I always came into the office at the agency it was like right around 11 o'clock, I think, when he goes on, and I just always like muted it because he's so loud.
Yeah.
You just see screaming. But the problem is I've never heard his show when he's not like shitting on somebody. And I don't know why he has a show. Why are you working in baseball? If you hate the game, so if you think that, you know, everything is wrong with it and these players don't play how you want, like, you were never even a player, buddy. Yeah. So I'm sorry, but shut the fuck up.
Yeah. And I totally understand. And it's like, it's hard to find the balance. Like, just, we talked to Carabas before, and like he started from a fanboy, and now he's like kind of respected in the media, and it's hard to find like that common ground. But there is a fun flip side to this, is because of all, like, everybody responded. Marcus Stroman responded, and he's been super active on social media, and that's been great. Erin Dolan, the wife of Sean Doolittle, responded. My favorite was this tweet from Yu Darvish, who called him Mud Dog. It was the best thing in the world. And I was told before you kind of blew up, like, oh, this guy's like actually really, really funny. Evan Grant, who covers the Rangers, was like, this guy's hilarious. Like, just pay attention to him and stuff like that. But it really does make you think. However, another positive is it did show the players all have unity and like, screw this guy. Like, he's going to say what he's going to say and like everything like that. And, you know, my favorite was like, we were talking about one subject, and my thing was like, all Bryce Harper said was, let's just like play the game. Like,
well, but then he, and I tweeted about this and blew him up more for this. You hear him, there's another clip where he goes on and he's talking, I forget who he's talking to, and he starts talking about how basically his job is just as hard as a baseball player's job. And that's a bold statement to make.
A very bold statement.
Especially from somebody who has, if you've never had that job, I don't want you to sit there. You're not allowed to sit there and tell me that it's just as hard. Now, we can ask Plouffe. Let's ask him. Is it just as hard?
I just wrote in the question to ask Plouffe, how hard is baseball?
Yeah, and I want to know right. But then also, look, if he tells me, look, having a show, or he doesn't have his own show on MLB Network yet, but if he were to tell me his job is just as hard, then fine. I can give some credibility, some weight to that, because you've done both.
Yeah.
But I don't ever sit there. I'm never going to say that a media person's job, that my job as a lawyer or my job as an agent is just as hard as a media person's. I've never been a media person. How can I say that? How can I say I've never been a baseball player? How could I ever say that my job is just as hard as your job? I've been an elite level gymnast, but I will never say that that is harder than being a baseball player. Like, how can you make that? How can you say that? It's just, he's idiotic to me. And it blows my mind that that MLB gives him, such a big platform.
No, and I totally agree. And it's kind of awkward because of, like, MLB Network brings so many former great, not just great baseball players, but, like you have like the John Smoltzes and the Dallas Braidens, and like we have Plouffe coming on too. Like they make it look so seamless, but that's not always the case, right? Like Michael Morris did a really beautiful job, transitioning from a baseball player to hosting and analyzing and stuff. And they don't understand, like, and it's a flip-flop too. They're like, oh, I can just talk about sports. Like, yeah, you can, but like they have their struggles too. We had a meeting about it today. Like, even when Morris started, he was just like, I know I'm good on TV, and like he's a good-looking dude, he knows his sport, and it's like, but there's so much more to it. But I will never sit there and be like, well, if you played in the bigs, like this should be easy for you, or vice versa. Like Morris doesn't walk up to me and be like, oh, well, I mean, I played in baseball, so like you should easily be able to like write this script and go on TV and not even think about it. Like nobody approaches me with that. So why the hell would I flip it and be like, why aren't you doing a good job? Like your job seems easy. Cause it's not. Like I don't walk up to the guy cause I worked in customer service. I worked at Victoria's Secret. I would never walk up to a girl working there and be like, I bet your sales suck. I did such a better job than you, because Lord knows I did it. I only worked there for the discount. So it wasn't like an actual tough thing to do, but it's just like, you have to be careful with what you say. And like, I get rants, I get the talking heads, and unfortunately they're really good for clickbait. They're great for clickbait. I do know that from media perspective, but it's like, dude, just chill. Like,
you know what I kind of chalk it up to is that how else does Mad Dog stay relevant? He doesn't. He has to say outlandish things like this to stay relevant. Like, nobody knows who he is. Nobody cares, to be honest. Like, most people I know change the channel when his show comes on. Mm-hmm. So for me, it's like a Hail Mary, let me say something ridiculous so people remember I still exist. That's my take on it.
And it's interesting because we live in such a world where it's not difficult to be relevant, right? It's really not. Like, you do something stupid and you could become viral. Like, everybody on The Bachelor did that. You think they're actually searching for love, maybe 4 of them, and they become famous. They get all these Instagram followers, and the next thing you know, they're hosting the Emmys. Like, it's just weird how that works, but I don't know.
I just, my biggest thing is, if you're going to work in the sport, you need to, you can't shit on your product. And that's what bothers me so much. Not to mention, like, I don't think his show, he's not widely respected as like one of the greatest, MLB talk show dudes.
What would you want to see from a show? Like, as somebody who, don't be too agenty, if you will, but like the casual baseball fan who wants to learn but doesn't want to be like, here's a stat, let me sick Brian Kenny on you kind of deal.
I have no problem, I guess, breaking down. I have no problem even saying when, after a player has a horrible game, or right, something just goes completely wrong and he gets, let's say a pitcher has to get pulled after, he can't even make it through the first inning.
Right.
Like, I have no problem if you're going to go talk about that and talk about his struggles and whatever, and maybe what were the causes that you think led up to that, and should the team have started that, that pitcher that day, and whatever. I have no problem shitting on a player in that way. It's not really shitty, like you're critiquing, and that's fine.
Yeah.
But getting mad at players for having a voice, for building a brand in the off season, when we're not even playing baseball right now, and then saying that you need to shut up unless you are the cream of the crop in baseball, that you're not allowed to talk. Can you imagine that? If that was the case in talk shows, I mean, Chris Russo wouldn't be allowed to have a show. You're not allowed to talk unless you're the best, and you're not. So shut up.
I feel like that's a big demographic of baseball. Like think about all this stuff. Okay, I mean, I'm literally not just saying this, but it's such a vibe. Such a vibe. And the reason why is because I feel like a lot, and I noticed with my mentions, it was like between obviously the Players Association and the owners fighting. Why don't these guys just play? Like, that is the demo of baseball. Like, the 55-plus-year-old white man, you and I are neither one of those things. And I feel like I have to say that in every MLB meeting I'm in. And it's just like, well, we want to make baseball fun. Then fucking listen to me. But then you get mad when these guys, are human beings. Like, you take fantasy sports out of it. Like, oh, wait, Joey Votto is like a person, or Trevor Bauer is a dude. Like, what? That's so weird. And it's like, yeah, like they have like lives that they live and stuff like that. And then they get mad that we don't show that. And then we show that and they're like, nobody cares about that. And it's like, what do you want from us? Like, and so they want to shit on the sport. And you're mentioning that. It's a very repetitive statement because it's so the truth. And what's funny is a lot of the media members, and you mentioned this, like, you just listen to them, like whether it's play-by-play and stuff, and you're sitting there, you're like, does this guy even like baseball? They're getting paid
exactly
money to do a beautiful job or try to make baseball relevant, try to get people to pay attention, and then you're like, does he even like the game? Like, what is happening? Which is difficult. Like, I know people, it's a job, don't get me wrong, it's different, and we're not always going to be like, oh, this is all hunky-dory, da-da-da, but like,
but they watch, when I hear it, I think it's the worst with the play-by-play. You listen to it, and it's so, it seems like they're always talking about, fantasizing and getting nostalgic about in the old days it was played like this.
Yeah.
And if I'm a young kid watching the sport and I'm on the fence of, let's say I'm like just started high school and baseball, because I think they did a study, and it's like baseball, the enrollment in baseball is still pretty much the same all the way up until high school, and that's when it kind of drops off. And because baseball's not cool, and like walking around being on the baseball team is not nearly as cool as being on the basketball team or the football team.
Yeah.
Baseball's no longer cool at that age. And if I'm on the fence, let's say I'm a freshman and just started baseball, or I just started high school, and I'm watching a baseball game, and they're sitting there talking about, players these days don't do it, the right way, or, back in my day, it was so much better. That's what it seems like they're always talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And how can you expect these kids to then feel like, yeah, this is a really cool sport? They're listening. The only audio they're really hearing when they watch a game is people that are in the sport talking about how it's not as good anymore. If you listen to NBA, when they talk about the game, they hype it up so much. They're like, oh my God, like, did you see that? Do you see the athletic ability that these players have nowadays versus, back in my day? It's incredible how much it increases and it improves, and look where we're at today. If I'm a kid watching that, I'm like, yo, basketball's the sickest sport ever. Like, it makes you excited. How can you shit on your product and expect people to love it and to be fans and to want to play it?
I get it. And it's like the least non-progressive sport, right? And like, I'm sitting here like, you want me to make it fun, and we talked to Kravis about this. Like how do you find that balance of respecting the game, which I do, but bringing the sexiness and the youthfulness and all the fun. And it's so difficult because baseball doesn't want to embrace pop culture. Baseball doesn't want to embrace social media. So when they ask me for help to like make it fun and whatever, I'm just sitting here like, well, you asked me for help, but like, you're not taking any of my advice.
Do you
like,
want the answer? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the girlfriend that is in a horrible relationship and comes to you asking for advice and how do I do better? And you're like, well, you're not going to like my answer.
Yeah. MLB is the one who gives the advice, but doesn't take it for themselves.
Yes.
Like he sucks, but then we go and do it ourselves. So we have Trevor Plouffe coming up, and the reason why we have him is not only because he's amazing, but he actually pointed out against Chris Russo, like, hey, Bryce Harper didn't have that bad of a year. Like, chill, like everything's fine. And so Russo got wind of it and said, and kind of came at him saying like, and I got to listen to, he's like, I've been in radio for 37 years. You want to have Trevor Plouffe come at me that I don't know anything about radio. And so I'm curious to see what he has coming up. So we'll see how that goes. We have Trevor Plouffe here, former big leaguer, and now you're doing some media stuff. We were talking about Mad Dog Chris Russo and how he went off and everything like that. And then he starts kind of going off about Bryce Harper, and he drags Bauer into it. And then later on, he brings you into it because all you basically said was Harper didn't have that bad of a season. And then drags you into it, mentioning 37 years, he's in radio, and Trevor Plouffe today. Tell me, I don't know anything about radio, ? What happened when you heard that?
Well, I never said he didn't know anything about radio. Clearly, he's had a successful career in radio, but he doesn't know anything about baseball. Or at least in that instance, what he said didn't make any sense. So to me, it's like, if you're going to come at guys and they deserve it, that's one thing. But if you're going to come at guys and just like make up something, like Bryce Harper had a bad year last year, well, the baseball community is going to come and let you know you're wrong. I mean, he didn't. I mean, I put the stats up, and that's a guy that likes some of the older counting stats. He's not really into maybe the way players are valued in the present day, which is fine because Bryce had great counting stats as well. He was 35 and 110 or something like that. So, any way you shake it out, Bryce had a good year last year, and I just. One of the reasons I wanted to get into media was to combat that. We have a large contingency of our baseball media doesn't like the way the game is being played, doesn't like the way the game operates anymore. And it shows. Like if you watch a game, you're going to get that all game long. And it's like, these are the guys presenting the game of baseball to the fans. You can't have that anymore. You need people that love the game and love the players and want to talk positively about it. And sure, you can give it out. Like I said, when someone deserves it, you need to give it out. But to just be completely wrong like that and just like throwing bogus claims, like I just don't want that to fly.
Yeah, so Rachel was talking about that earlier, and the one thing that we struggle with, and Rachel mentioned this, why would anybody who's never played Major League Baseball, and it's the one thing I hate about being a member of the media, I can personally say, no matter how great my career is, I can never say, well, my baseball playing resume, I stopped when I was playing Babe Ruth. Junior league, maybe. I can never say like I cannot compete with the guys that are up there if they're a player turn analyst. So how, like when you're in kind of an extension of these players, how do you handle that when you're a former player, you see these guys, and now you're a member of the media? Do they get worried about that at all?
I don't think anybody gets worried about it, and I don't think you have to play baseball at the highest level to be able to comment on baseball. There's plenty of guys who, pour their heart and soul into the game but never step on the field. And those guys do a great job. I mean, we could name some guys here. Like I think Ken Rosenthal does a really good job. Yeah. He's a guy that's always going to ask you the questions. He's not just going to assume something. If he wants to write a story about you or say something, like he's probably going to come ask you and just make sure something's coming. And like when you do that and you have the respect of guys, like I don't think there's any problem. There's plenty of people who didn't play the game. And to be honest with you, it even goes on to the coaching side. A lot of the best coaches weren't major league players. So like, I don't think that has anything to do with it. I think as long as you are like, I don't know. I mean, just going back to Mad Dog, that was just an absurd statement. So like, just stay clear of those. And I think there's room in this game for everybody to be a part of it and to comment on it. I don't want to hold anybody back just because they never stepped in the box in a big league park. That doesn't make any sense to me.
I think like the biggest, and I was telling Jess this earlier, the biggest thing I have an issue with is when we have people, the voices of the game that are shitting on the game. That's all they do. And it seems like, you know, some of our loudest voices of the game have nothing positive to say about the game now, about the players nowadays. And that's what drives me crazy, is like listening to that. I want to hear, I don't care necessarily if you've never played, if you've never played, but if you're going to be the voice of the game, like I want you to, you know, act like you like the sport, act like, you know, this is one of the greatest sports in the world.
Yes. I mean, I agree with it. I think that's how you reach new fans. You know, baseball's target demographic is not what it has right now. You know, we're in a sport that, you know, the demographic that consumes the sport hasn't changed in 20 years. It's the same people. So you need to reach newer audiences. And if you're always on air during a game talking poorly about it, well, I mean, I don't want, if someone's trying to sell me something, they're like, oh, this actually is not that good, I'm probably gonna be like, oh, I'm not gonna buy it. So yeah, you need fresher voices, people out there that love the game. I've been saying that since, you know, I was a player. I always thought MLB Network was the one thing that really needed to be changed. You know, you go on there and you're going to get your rundowns, your clips about the games, and you need that. You need the highlights, talk about the game, obviously. But that's basically all you had. I mean, if it wasn't a rerun of that, they were playing Field of Dreams or they were playing Bull Durham or some other baseball movie. It's like, hey, let's get some player content on these platforms. Like, you're representing baseball and these players are baseball essentially. Like, let's get some player content on there. And it hasn't changed. And I don't know if it's going to change or not. I'm trying to change. That's been my goal since I joined the media, was to get guys to come and present themselves to fans, because there's a lot of great personality in the game right now.
Yeah. And I was talking about that too. Like, and I'm in meetings about baseball all the time. Like, how do we do this? How do we do this? And it's so hard to find a balance of, I mean, it's not a progressive sport. And obviously every time I'm sitting in a meeting, I'm beyond the demographic. I will never be the demographic of baseball, no matter what I do. And they're like, well, how do we do this? And I try to do it. And they're like, well, like, I don't know. And Rachel made a really good comparison to like the girl who's asking for guy advice, but we give the good advice, but we don't take it for ourselves. And it's like, you want to sexy it up, you want to make it fun, but then they don't. And so it's weird because
they're comfortable with it.
Yeah.
It goes against the norm, the tradition that they're used to, and this old school mentality. And so
to me, this is the perfect time to change it because of who we have in the game, the players right now. We have a very diverse group of stars that are 25 and under. You know, we have the Ronald Acuñas, we have the Vlad Guerrero Juniors, we have the Bichette. You know, like, I love guys like that. Like, let's put those guys on the pedestal. Let them usher in like a new era of the game. They play it differently. From when I was in the game not too long ago, these guys played the game differently. Like, Tim Anderson came in and made a mess in the best way possible. Yeah. And people got mad at them. And, you know, what's funny is that stuff has been going on forever. There's always been guys that are a little bit, you know, more showy. Mm-hmm. And before it was like frowned upon, you might've got your teammates hurt. And I don't think the game's played that way anymore. I think the Latin influence has a lot to do with that. The way they play, you know, coming from Venezuela and the DR, Cuba, like, those guys play with passion, and it's amazing. Yeah. So they brought that style of game over. And, you know, I think more and more people are just getting used to it. And I think it's good for the game.
I think I heard, who was it? Hunter Pence was talking to me a while back about how last offseason when he played winter ball. I think he was either in Venezuela. I think he was in Venezuela. DR. Okay, that was the other one. Yeah. He said just the atmosphere and the vibe of it. It's so exciting. Every game, there's so much passion and emotion. It's nothing like anything in the United States, and I think that you see it with the Latin players. They have it, but it's when they get to the United States, I think it's so suppressed because of the culture, and they're kind of told to, stay in your lane and, keep your head down. But that is so fun. That kind of excitement and, passion when you play, that's how you get the younger fans. That's what they want to see. Why do younger kids love, the NBA? I talk about this all the time, but it's like there's so much, just passion and swag.
Yeah. Or the WBC in Miami, like inject that shit into my veins.
That was awesome.
I was just like, oh my gosh, this is how baseball should be. And then, I walk into the Coliseum and it's not how it goes. But my question, Trevor, I have a question. So when it's such an anomaly to me because I bring guys on to the set at NBC all the time and they're former players and they either pick it up or they don't. And I feel like there's kind of I don't want to say they get excited because they're still going to get the attention. They're going to be in front of the camera and stuff like that. What was your biggest fear or surprise when you had to transition from thinking, well, I know the game, you're obviously well-spoken, you're great on social media, but then to transition to the actual media role, what freaked you out the most?
I don't know if it's ever freaked me out. When I got done playing, you're always kind of taught while you're playing, find different avenues to explore because people want to talk to you. You're a big leaguer, so use that to your advantage. Go meet people and whatever interest you have, go talk to those people because they're going to talk to you. And once you're a former player, that kind of all goes away. Yeah, it's cool. You used to play baseball. It's not the same as being a current player. Mm-hmm. So when I was done playing, I was like, I really am done with baseball. It's been a part of my life for so long. I want to do something different. I took a year off and just hung at home, which was amazing.
Oh God.
And then I wanted to start to get, do some work, kind of use my brain and my skills, whatever. So I went into a bunch of different stuff before I landed in baseball. I was going to do some hemp oil stuff with one of my neighbors. And that kind of interested me until I started to get into it. I was like, this isn't me. Another real estate-ish type
was
stuff.
That a pyramid scheme?
No, I mean, he had a plan. I went up to the production facility in Oregon and did the whole thing, and it just wasn't me. And right. What I started to realize was my entire network, my entire area of expertise is baseball. Mm-hmm. And I'd be foolish not to explore it. So I did I went to the Dodgers Instructional League. Not a lot of people know this, but I went to the Dodgers Instructional League and was going to see if I wanted to do coaching. And I went there for 3 days and I found out really quickly, that's going back. I'd rather play. I'd keep playing if I was just kind of be in the minor leagues going from city to city. That wasn't for me. So
wait, did you really only last 3 days?
I went there for 3 days as a trial thing. And I was just this is not for me.
Love it.
It's a grind. And I'm over the grind,
Understandable.
Yeah. So then this kind of just fell. I decided I'll give it a try, and things have just really worked out cool. And now I'm doing stuff with John Boy and get to be on cool stuff like this where I get to drink wine and talk to you. And
yes,
it's great. I couldn't be happier right now. So
Plouffe is our first guest to actually bring a cocktail.
I brought it.
Here's to that.
Yeah, I'm a beer guy. But you guys are doing the wine, so yeah.
We all have a little bit of everything. I love my and I know, so I get really excited, obviously, when we were allowed to go out. I love going to Crate and Barrel and looking at stuff I will never buy. But they have that whole row of the different types of wine glasses you need. And I took one wine class, if you will, and I do not abide by the rules. But it's okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's just a regular wine glass right there. I like it.
Exactly.
It works.
Exactly.
Also, I don't have a wine glass, so.
I saw you out of the bottle. That's okay.
I'm traveling and there was I'm on the road and this was all I could get and I had no cup. So I'm not usually this trashy of a person, but.
Oh my gosh, no. Don't call it trashy because I
guess it's not trashy. If no one was looking, I'd probably do it.
It's the Reno way. The way to do it in Reno.
It's kind of all the same. You pour it in a glass, you pour it out of the bottle. It ends up the same place.
Yeah.
As if you're alone, who cares?
Well, and also Ian Desmond just opted out of the season. Just FYI, that's my phone.
Just now.
I saw that. Yeah, he had a really nice post about it, talking about a lot of different things. But Ian's he's awesome. So
he is.
It's going to be interesting to see. Yeah, to see who's going to be doing this.
So this is this is kind of like a little bit off topic, but I was talking to Trevor Bauer about this earlier today, actually, because we were talking about the different people opting out. And I don't know if they've even figured out, because what we've been told from the union so far is that to contact them if one of our players is going to opt out, so they can talk about what's going to happen, because I don't think they've figured out if their contract year, like if it's just a wash, or basically if they lose the year, or if it's just an extra year of service. So
I don't think anyone's going to get service time unless they have like some sort of pre-existing condition or a high-risk individual. Yeah.
So you're right about that. But what about guys? So let's say you're Garrett Cole. Mm-hmm. You're going to make, how much money is he making? What, like he's making 30% or so? Yeah. But
so earlier yelled us the amount, but it's fine. Yeah.
Right. But he's making, so he normally would make 36 million. And now he's going to make, let's say 30, 40, whatever percent of that. Would it be better if he just didn't play this season, if he opted out, if he gets to add on an extra year, right? Because he doesn't get service. And if that year doesn't count. So now let's say they add on an extra year where he can make the full 36 million. Do you opt out?
I don't know if it works that way or not, but if that's the way it works, I think it would just be a year gone on the contract. That's what makes the most sense to me, but it couldn't be.
But what about, because but then you think about it, there are guys on contracts where teams, if they're very team friendly contracts, the teams might want to keep him an extra year. Think about, let's say Blake Snell, if he opts out, like let's keep him an extra year and have him under that. And so let's not have this year count. So the team would want that. Whereas you have guys, like, I don't know if Zimmerman, when he opts out, if I believe he'll just get to play an extra year next year. So
I doubt under the same contract. If it's like the last year. So one of my buddies is Ryan Braun. He's in his last year of his contract. They have a mutual option for next year, which is with a buyout. So was talking. He's like, I wanted this to be my last year, but if we don't get to play baseball next year, like, I got to come back. It won't feel right to me. Like I'm going to have to play another year. And in talking to him, and he's pretty involved in all this, it'd be like a restructuring, or like he'd have to get his buyout and then restructure another deal for the following year. So I guess that rule definitely needs to be cleared up.
Right. And so that's what I just think it's interesting to see, because there are definitely cases, I think, where you would think the teams would want to just burn the year and just say, fine, we don't pay you, you get nothing for this year, and then we just continue on the contract. But there are also, I think, cases where the teams would rather just say, okay, we'll add on the extra year to your contract because you didn't play for this year and you didn't get service. So, and I don't think we've heard, the agents haven't, as far as I know, haven't been told kind of what they're doing with that, but it'll be interesting just from, I guess, that perspective of how they're going to handle it.
Yeah. My feeling is the teams love that they're going to pay guys 37% of their contract and still get a postseason. So I think they want everybody to play this year. Some guys have to play because of the no service time thing. Like Mookie Betts can't sit out this year, or else he's going to go through this whole thing again next year because he won't get the service time.
He could go he could play up until he gets the service he needs.
Gets the time and then go.
Yeah.
How many days is it?
So my client, Bauer needs, I believe it's like 17 days or 14 or something. He could play and then be done.
It's interesting. There's going to be a lot of things like that, especially because I think what we've seen about this situation is that it's very fluid. The negotiations are still going on. We have a pandemic that's very fluid. And
that's one way to describe it.
Yeah,
I call it a fucking shit show. But
it's a shit show. It's a great way to say it. That really describes it. But it's all these things. We're gonna see guys, like we've already seen guys opt out. Maybe we're gonna see some guys do what you're talking about, getting to that required service time and saying, this is stupid. Because I've talked to a lot of guys and I'm just thinking to myself, this is not the show. This year is not like big league baseball. You're going to be in your hotel room. You're going to be eating prepackaged food. You're going to be sitting in the stands. you're going to be like a hamster in a cage. So it's just going to be I think it's, we as fans and as people watching the games, I consider myself a fan now. I just kind of want to enjoy it for what it is. Cause this is the most insane year, maybe in Major League Baseball history.
Yeah.
It's so different. This will never happen again unless we start having
like it gets really
pandemics every
I was
year,
wondering,
which I hope not.
Like, do you think there's going to be an asterisk by, like, on Baseball Reference by this season, just to?
Or not like an asterisk, but like another thing, because I think asterisks I think they're dedicated to something else. But
yeah, they are. You're right. But they need some, because it's going to look weird. Like, this is going to be this strange,
like compliment saying like you're good for like a 60-game season. Something like that weird is going to happen. But even the media stuff, the A sent us our media stuff today, and it's so bizarre. Like, we can't talk to the players. We can't, like, unless I have personal relationships with them, I can't really talk to them. A couple of the players did say, they told me possibly post-game Zoom calls, which is fine. I can't do exclusives that way, and that's like, I'm not that worried about that. So like, which is great. Like, I mean, I'm never going to ever compete with Susan Slusser, but I can pretend,
Nobody is.
Like,
it's
just
give
not
it
going to happen. Like, nice try. Like, and I told her that. I was like, hey, Queen, I'm going to call you Queen. We know where we stand, right? Yeah. Thank you.
She's the best.
Yeah, she's the best. And really took me underneath her wing, and love her. And we should probably have her on the pod. I think she'd be fun. But so like all of that. And then it's only one person, one reporter and a photog from an outlet at a time. We're not allowed in the press box. So I'm probably have to cover the game from the stands, which I can't stand. But
that's going to be pretty funny. So you are going to be in the stadium. That's cool. Just like walking around the stadium, or is there like a designated area?
So we can't go roaming, which is my favorite thing to do. Like, I like to just like do my thing, because I can't stay in one spot at one time, and I'm a little nervous about that because I don't know how the camera situation is going to be. And I don't want them to see like me walking around, because I have my own 7th inning stretch where I have to walk around and just take a break. And I'm just nervous that they're going to be like, well, where's Jess? And I'm like, well, I don't know. There's 7 people in the stadium. And obviously covering the A's most of the time, people are going to make the comments like, oh, it looks like a normal game. And it's like, calm down. I'm going to miss the bleachers and all of that and stuff, but it's going to be really interesting. And so we're basically going to be able to show up, but not be able to talk to the players. So
I want to see you up there. What's that called? Mount Davis. I just want to see you up there in Mount Davis, just by yourself covering the game.
Okay. I'll do that for you.
It's like ultimate social distancing.
I'll have Dallas be near me too. So I'll make sure that he's there. And then we're just like, but we won't say anything. We won't like talk to anybody and just sit there. Just enjoy it. I'm scared. I won't go up there. I'm scared.
It's gonna be a wild year. There's no doubt about it. Yeah.
For sure will. We have a very important question for you, Plouffe.
Okay. How
hard is baseball? Is it hard?
It's very hard. It's the reason I love baseball is because anyone can play it. Like, you don't have to be born to play baseball. You have to be born to play football for the most part.
I'm gonna have to make sure
that it's the same with it's. I was a gymnast.
Cut that out.
It's the same.
I played baseball for a long time, and I want to make sure that I'm relevant. So.
No, I'm saying you can. Anyone can play baseball. You can learn to play baseball.
It's the same. No, it's the same. Like gymnastics. I was a gymnast since I was 2, and it's one of those sports. Like, I'm tiny, and you like, not anybody can be a gymnast.
Yes.
Just the reality.
I mean, from a bunch of different sports. So, basketball, you basically have to be born to play basketball.
Right.
So in that essence, maybe it's the easiest sport, but it requires a lot of time and like consistent practice. And that's what makes it so hard. And, the guys throwing 95 don't help. 95 to 100 doesn't help. But what you're going to see in the next couple of years is guys aren't going to care anymore because they're going to have practiced against 95 and 100 for so long. Mm-hmm. And the hitters will catch up to it. And it's just that, like, you have to be so diligent about your work. And it starts at a very young age. You just repeat these movements over and over and over again, and they become second nature. And that's where you see baseball players get separated from each other. Like, the guys who are naturally talented, that's great and all, but you better work, because and you have to do it 162 times in 180 days in front of 40,000 people, it just has to be second nature to you. So that's the hardest part, is that consistency. But like, you know, I could probably still go up and see a straight 90-mile-an-hour fastball and hit it because I've done it so many dang times. But a guy that hasn't ever done it, you can even put the ball at like 80 miles an hour. Like, they're not going to hit it. It's just to me, that's what makes baseball so hard, is like, one, because you don't control any of the intangibles too. Like, as a hitter now I'm talking, like the pitcher controls all of that. But for the biggest thing, I think, is just that repetitive nature, and you have to be able to do it for so long,
Right.
you know, 10 plus years.
I would love to see Chris Russo in the box. Like,
No, that's not fair. It's not fair to him. It's like, you know,
not great content.
As much as I don't like that guy, you know, like, a lot of baseball players couldn't go do what he does. You know.
So okay,
Some
is
can.
that your take on? So well,
I
guess. Hold on. What we were getting at with that question was more or less with his comment that when he said, my job is just as hard as a professional baseball player's job. And my issue with that is, you never played professional baseball. You cannot make that comparison. There are some people in media now who can make that comparison, who can make that judgment on which is harder. Obviously you haven't been around in media quite as long yet, but you're getting to experience it. And do you think that's a fair statement?
I mean, I feel like you could take it so many different ways. You know, how many big leaguers has there been now? Is it 20,000 yet? Is it right around there in the history of the game?
I just ask Trevor Plouffe who he's sleeping with on the team. That's when I know he'll feel like he's actually in that person.
Wait, what?
That's what I get all the time. Like, who are you sleeping with?
Oh, okay.
And it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
I was like, who's my roommate? I loved
like
having
that.
a roommate. Do you know, to bring up
Who's the
that,
best roommate you've ever had?
So my last year, I spent some time in AAA, and they gave me the option to like pay for my own room. And I was like, you know what? Like, I don't want to be by myself. So like, I had a roommate. So like, it was like this, like, you know, obviously people would say it's a step backwards, but I really enjoyed it. It was like, you know, hanging out with the boys, like we'd watch movies together. It was Colin Cowgill. I don't know if you remember Colin.
I do. He
He's
dated a girl from Reno, didn't he?
He's the best. And so we just like watch movies together. Yeah, there, as an Iron Pig. And so that was, I enjoyed having a roommate. I don't know how we just got here, but here we are.
No, I feel like
Just want to know who you're sleeping with.
No, because I know that was more of like a sexist comment. Like, I feel like you won't make it in the media until, as a woman, no matter what I'm doing.
Do you really get that question? Like, do guys treat you like that?
So yeah, you know what's weird?
Any female in baseball, no matter what industry, it's who are you sleeping with?
It's so weird because like, I don't know if I've just been crazy lucky, but it's like never happened to me. And it doesn't matter what I'm doing. It's like, even if I'm on a dating site or going on a first date or whatever, or dating, or like talking to somebody who works the industry, they're just like, oh, it's probably really awkward when you walk in the clubhouse. I'm like, no, it's just not. And like, obviously, like, and I'm not exaggerating, the A's, and I was talking to Cameron Rupp about that tonight. He says hi, by the way, Trevor.
I love Cameron Rupp.
He's amazing. And he said that it's like a great group of guys, and covering the A's like most of the time, I'm like, it's literally never happened. And even in other clubhouses, it's never happened either. And so when I hear that and I hear these stories, I don't want to say I don't believe them, but I'm like, I've just been so lucky and it just doesn't happen. But it's just like, the first question is like, do you actually like sports, or are you just doing this because like you have to? And they don't actually believe like in another life. I swear I was a dude in another life, and probably a dude at one point, and decided like, no, I'm just actually, I couldn't be a professional baseball player. So I turned this into a dream. And that's the second question is, oh, they probably hit on you all the time. And it's like, no, it just doesn't happen. And it's just is what it is. But I wish a guy would like hear that every now and then, just so they're like, damn, that sucks. And
yeah, I wonder what the question is, like the guy question. You know what it is? It's, you didn't play, or did you? How far did you play?
because they look at us and they automatically know, so they don't have to ask us, right? So
No, what I'm saying, like
Yeah,
what question would make a guy
version.
feel uncomfortable like that? I don't know what it is. I first of all, that's bullshit that ever happens to you guys. You
I know you would love that because you're a precious baby angel and you would get it.
Most of us are professionals in professional baseball.
And like I said, like when
you would think,
I'm sitting there like, I'm so lucky, like it hasn't happened to me, you know?
Yeah, I don't know. You know, it's. I think this year, if there's any good that's coming out of this year, is that it's opening people's eyes up to the fact that there needs to be just more diversity in fields in general. Whether it's we need more Black managers, Black GMs, women coaches, whatever it is. The thing that people need to understand is that to be successful, you need to have a range of opinions and like views. And if you just surround yourself with the same opinions, you get in your little echo chamber, like you're going to lose. You're going to lose. So like you need to hop on the train, like make sure you have different viewpoints, people to challenge you. People have seen the world or have different experiences than you, because that's how you like get the best product. Yeah. And I don't, it's crazy it's taken this long to see that. But like I said, if there's one good thing to come out of 2020, it's that people are seeing that.
It's funny because I think what I've found is that players, like in the current players right now, and I guess, you know, I mean, even you, they seem to be the most open-minded to it. I think the closed-minded people, it's not the players really, as much as just the older, you know, people working in the industry that seem to be the most closed-minded when it comes to that kind of stuff.
Well, even the Giants, they hired Alyssa Nacken, and like I talked to Buster about it. I talked to Brandon Crawford, and they were just like, they weren't mean about it. They knew I had to ask the question, but they were like, "That's stupid. You had to ask a question that we have a woman who's our coach. Like, I can't believe you're actually asking that." But they were great, but they were just like, she knows what she's doing, and Crawford himself said we need more of this, you know, and I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, I think. One thing I've always said about baseball is that it needs to attract better coaches. And if you take a look around minor league systems, the minor leagues are an organization's lifeblood. Like you have to develop from within in order to put together a good team. Because these guys that are going to come up are going to make no money, and you're going to get to sprinkle in some free agency. So you have to be able to do that. But teams, it took so long for teams to figure this out, and some still haven't. You need to hire good coaches. And whatever that means, you know, doesn't matter sex or color or age or whatever. Like you need to hire the best coaches, and you need to treat them right, because a lot of the times teams couldn't get good coaches in the minor leagues because who the hell wants to coach in the minor leagues for $30,000 a year?
You have to pay
I don't want to
them.
I don't want to put a dollar amount on it because I say $30,000 a year and I don't want to act like whatever. They need to make more money. You know, to be able to, that many hours that they're working, like there needs to be an incentive to go to your organization. And I know some organizations have done that. The Dodgers have done a good job of hiring like the right people and kind of diversifying the way they approach player development. But that's been the biggest, like, what's going on, how it, like when I was in the minor leagues, even 2018, I'm seeing coaches, I'm like, dude, you're just here to collect a paycheck because you you can't do anything else. You've never wanted to do anything else. You're not helping anybody. But like it's like this, it was a weird thing. Like you're one step away, or in AAA, you'd imagine there'd be just like really damn good coaches who are super invested in your organization at that level. And there just wasn't. Not saying my team specifically, but just in general.
Right.
No, it's even just, I think the training staff, and obviously like I'm not a former player or anything like that. So I don't know firsthand, but that's from what I've heard. It's like, if you want the best coaches, if you want the best trainers, all that kind of stuff, you go to a private facility, or, you know, you have to go elsewhere. Yeah, and you would think the best, you know, we have 30 teams, professional teams that are paying so much money in salary and putting so much money into the product on the field and developing a product. You would think they would put a ton of money into, you know, what is developing them and what is helping them and what is going to, you know, rehab, like the people that are going to rehab their players when they're injured, and yet they don't. They skimp on it. And I think that's it's so short-sighted to me.
It is short-sighted. I mean, for whatever reason, in regards to the minor leagues and minor league systems, organizations, players association are always short-sighted with it.
Facts.
I'm probably, people are probably going to hate that I'm going to say this, but it's out there anyway. I've already said it. I was a fan of cutting down some minor leagues. Like I didn't think there needed to be 7 leagues. It's unfortunate that some guys won't get that chance.
Yeah.
What's that?
You mean like per organization?
Yes.
Okay.
In my experience, you play with these guys, and I feel like we're just going down and kind of complaining, but maybe it needs to be said.
That's
But
fine.
in my experience, you get a lot of these guys that get drafted out of high school, or they come 3 years out of college. They're in the minor leagues for 5 or 6 years. You're not making, you're literally making no money.
Yeah.
In the minor leagues. So say you sign out of high school, you play 5 years, you're 23 now, and you're not going to make it. They end up releasing you. Maybe you play independent ball for a year or something like that. Now you're 24, no college education whatsoever. You have to go back into the work field. These guys are completely far behind. They have really no skills besides baseball. That's a story you hear so much. I've had multiple friends of mine literally crying, dude, I gave everything to baseball and I left with absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
So the dirty secret is that most of these guys get drafted just to play against
They're
the
just
guys that are going to make it.
Yeah.
placeholders. Yeah.
So I hate that. And every once in a while, you're going to get a guy who proves everybody wrong and gets to the big leagues, and it's a great story. But the numbers just don't support it being worth it. So I was up for this contraction. It sucks kind of the way it happened. I wish it was maybe a smoother transition, maybe a couple of years, 3 years. But it's the minor leagues is a whole different topic.
No, literally.
We'll have you on for that we'll do a whole minor league episode.
I brought that up though, because I'm thinking about all the guys when I was except from Reno. So the people I was covering when I was with Cut 4 was through Reno, and it's the guys that you don't hear about, but Rusty Ryle, he tried to make it in media too, and these other guys that you were covering, it's just but I did get to watch Willie Mo Pena at his peak, and that was pretty cool. So I
love minor league baseball. I do. I think there's something special about it. It brings baseball to the fans that normally don't get it in these certain areas. But
the amount of steps it's a lot. I would agree.
It's not actually. They're not using these players don't all have a fair shot kind of thing. A lot of them they're really there no matter what they do. The team has no intention of ever bringing them up.
Dude who's coaching my nephew, saying that he played for the A's, and you're what? You're excuse me? He's no, I played for the A's. I'm are you sure? And he's yeah. And I'm that's cute. What's your name? The dude, I don't think ever actually, he played for some rookie ball independent team that I've never even heard of. Mm-hmm. I'm just sitting there Adam, my brother, I'm don't say anything. It's fine. It's
hey, look, I'll give it to him that you're still a professional baseball player. And I think guys really like to be able to say that.
Right, don't say that you played for the A's.
Yeah, it's a little different.
You can say the A's organization.
Yeah.
He said he played for the A's. And I'm sitting there just eating my red vines, my big ass. You know how the little league pretzels are so much better than the big league pretzels? I haven't
been there in a long time.
Oh my gosh, they were so good. And I'm just sitting there. My little brother is Jessica, does he play for the A's? I was I don't know. And I'm freaking out thinking maybe I'm not good at my job. I don't know.
Seems to me you know most of the A's guys.
I'm just sitting here what's his name? Freaking out. And but I didn't say anything because he wanted his time, but he actually was a really good coach. So I let it go, but it was just it's fine. Yeah.
I was coaching my son. This is the first year I was a T-ball coach.
How did that go?
It was wild. I mean,
how old is your son?
My son's 4. They would do that.
Videos on your social media.
I'll put some up.
My 2 favorite divisions or whatever to watch in baseball are professional baseball, MLB, and then like little kids playing.
Yeah, it was
everything
like,
in between, not as exciting.
I kind of agree with you there. That I'm like a baseball snob. I want the best of the best. But then when I was with these kids who like,
It's
I was
hilarious.
I was essentially babysitting for a couple hours.
That's all you guys are. You're babysitters. Yeah.
As long as nobody got like hit in the head with a bat, like that was my number one thing. It's like, please don't let some kids
No
swing.
steroid use. We're good.
Yeah. So, but that got cut short, which sucks.
At the end, which is great.
Oh, yeah, because of COVID?
Yeah, so we played, I think, 4 or 5 games, and then now
I just love it. Like their
here.
helmets are too big. It looks like they're the size of their body.
Yes.
They don't know which, like all the best, Barstool always puts out, or there's some other accounts too that put out just the best videos of like little kids playing baseball, and it's the cutest.
It's good. It's a good game, and I had so much fun doing it. Like I'll continue to coach for sure, because it's just like, how could you not? You know.
Yeah.
So
I gave the kids my baseball card, and it was like the funnest thing to see them to like trying to put 2 and 2 together if it was really me, and like most of them were like, what is a baseball card? They didn't know what it was, but it was just cool, like bridging that gap, I guess.
Are you Coach Plouffe or
Coach Trev? Yeah, Coach Trev.
Coach Trev.
Yeah, or Teddy's dad. A lot of them call me Teddy's dad.
Teddy's dad.
Yeah.
I feel like that's way better than all the things.
It's good. It's good.
It's so
that's pretty cool to be now Teddy's dad instead of, I'm sure everyone's always, been somehow related to you, like Trevor Plouffe's, whatever.
Yeah.
Now he has taken over and you are Teddy's dad.
I love it. Whenever he has friends over, like that's what they refer to me as. Teddy's dad? I'm like, okay, whatever. Yeah.
That's what I'm going to refer to you as. Not
sure.
Gonna, from that's now fine. On. Like every time I talk to you on Twitter, I'm like, Teddy's dad's up. Like, that's it.
That's me. I'll take it.
Gosh,
He's a good
Trevor,
kid.
You've been so phenomenal. Thank you. I was not, I knew you would talk, but like, I could talk to you for hours. Like,
did I talk too much? I think I might have.
No. Like I'm like
great.
So excited that you stopped by and like you gave us time, and I know we pushed it back, but this was so worth it, and I really, really appreciate your time.
I appreciate you guys having me on. I love what you guys are doing. It's great.
You have to give us a cheers because you actually have wine.
I know. I only went through 1 glass. I thought maybe I'd get
definitely
2 or 3. But
we didn't even do the wine word at all. I thought I was going to do better with the wine word, but
what's the wine word?
It was vibe.
So we have we have a drinking game that every time it's said, we pick a word at the beginning of the episode.
Yeah.
We have to
I don't even think we said vibe once.
We didn't.
She picked this.
Though I'm sorry. Like,
yeah.
That's what happened. So that means it was a good conversation, because that happened once with Rachel and I was like, I did not say the wine word, and it was because I was super into what she was saying.
No, we just forgot to drink.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
I'm going to finish this. I have a whole bottle. So I have my Monday night poker game right now. So I'm going to finish my wine and
play
some
some poker.
Go win some poker.
Yeah.
I'll try.
Thank you for stopping by, though.
Yeah,
that was really fun.
Thanks for having me. I'm going to give me some claps again, so we know.
Yes.
Rachel has to do it. Watch Rachel clap. It's so.
Let me see.
I don't like
so
it.
Weird about
Let me see.
It's the best. She freaks out.
It's a decent clap. This isn't like a normal way to clap. Like usually I hear.
No, like it's a whole thing. It's the best.
It's because everyone makes fun of me for it. So now it's like, and when I was working like with Momentum during spring training, they would one time made me do like the little snap, the whatever that cart thing is, the action. Clapper. And I was like, the clapper. I was like, what do I do? They like needed someone there. Rachel, come here. Can you do it? And I was like frazzled. I'm like, I don't know how to do this. And they like it's not that hard. Just like clap it.
Just clap
and then
it.
I did it, and it barely made a noise. And they were like how hard is that to make a noise with? And then I was just like, I was rattled by the whole thing. And then I've just never been a fan. And now it's like a thing. Yeah. So I'm a really bad clapper.
It was like an audition to see if we would work together. And they were like, Rachel, do the clap. And I'm like, wait, what? You want her to do?
Wait, you do? Let me see. You did the clap. What do you got? That's a bad clap, too.
Who's is bad?
You guys are the worst clapping podcast I've ever seen.
I was a cheerleader for 1 semester. I'm amazing.
That is a cheerleader clap. My sister was a cheerleader, and I remember that's like a
actually had
Okay, at least I don't do the cheerleader clap because
I had
God
to
forbid a gymnast will
I
be a
had to choose
cheerleader.
between that in baseball. It's like a legit story. And I was like, fuck you, I'm going to go play baseball.
Love
Good
that.
choice.
An actual
Love that.
story. I probably should have stuck with cheerleading because I'd be like probably
No,
as
never.
as Rachel.
Ba-
But here we are.
You'd be do the A's have cheerleaders?
Just
Some teams do.
just
What?
me.
Who?
The
Well, they
Aces
did.
do. The Aces actually do. The Reno Aces.
I think the Rays, do they have them anymore? The Rays used to.
and
They might have
the
got rid of them.
Astros do too.
No.
Astros definitely
no, they
do.
don't. No.
The
No, they
Rays,
Oh, for
don't.
sure. You know, it's Texas. Rangers do too.
yes.
Yeah,
No, they
Texas
don't. There's-
cheerleaders for sure. Yeah,
No,
Are you-
no, the
like
Astros
the
for sure
baseball
do,
team.
like,
Like they're
slap the fuck
professional.
they're not like a football cheerleading squad, but if they go in Texas, they go in center field a couple times a game and do like a cheer thing with flags.
Yeah.
Because in Texas, cheerleading is very people do it.
But you also know, I know, it just the gymnasts hate cheerleaders. So it's like always
because they do
yeah.
because they take a few moves.
Because they do like
Is it a
they
clapping
pretend
thing,
to
like
no they do flips and stuff, but they do them so poorly, and they just make gymnasts like they're like these wannabe really bad gymnasts
Okay, I
that
can
just
see that.
never like their flips. It's a really bad form because they don't have actually any training to do it. So it's
I
just
love
like a
that
disgrace.
you're like analyzing them as they're doing it.
I
What
feel
about, like,
we
the
need to
really
have,
good
we
ones,
need to
though?
have a
Like-
cheerleader come on the
There are some the really competitive ones that I've
Yeah.
seen. That is more of a. I'll give them some credit, but they're still their form compared to if you watch like an actual gymnast's form versus theirs. It's pretty bad because there's no. I mean, most gymnasts at that level. I mean, you've been training since you were 2
Yeah.
years old, so you've
Yes.
done 8 hours a day. Like your form is just so much better. So their form is so. It's just. I don't know.
Hey,
They still do like the same skills, some of them to an
Okay.
extent, but it's not good.
What's I used to watch gymnastics like I just remember like a really fond memory of like 1998 Olympics, like at my grandparents' house watching
Yes.
gymnastics. The girl from UCLA, what's her name? The one that had like the really famous routine. I don't wanna-
recently?
Yes, she just had.
Oh, Sofina? Was it Sofina?
I think she's Asian. She kind of has the curly hair.
Oh, Ohashi. Caitlin
Yes.
Ohashi. Yeah.
Is she like legit? Like, is she like in
Yeah,
the
so-
Olympics?
No, she's
Rachel-
done.
Rachel went
I
to-
was a UCLA gymnast.
I know that.
Okay.
Look at this. Look at
she's
this. I don't know if you see what that says right there.
Oh, ew.
It says fight on.
Damn.
I'm a Trojan. I
Oh.
mean, I was going to be a Trojan.
Wait, but you weren't, right?
I wasn't, no.
Okay. So that was a wise choice.
How did you drop that after the interview?
Yeah, I didn't want you to hate me right away.
Yeah.
It's a big
I was
rivalry.
gonna say, yeah, no, it's real. I was gonna I was confused for a second. Like, well, how did I not know that? Like, I should hate you, but you didn't go, so it's fine.
I didn't go.
Yeah, but no, Ohashi, she's done. Most gymnasts, so you peak at like 16, usually 16, 17. If you go to college,
That's
UCLA UCLA had the first two, they just graduated this year, Olympians that ever competed, won medals like in the Olympics, and then went to college. Because when you go to the Olympics, you get endorsements, obviously.
Mhm.
If you take them, you can't be, I
Yeah.
mean, per the old rules, you wouldn't be eligible. So most Olympians never go to college. So, but then
so they're
once
that young. I didn't know that.
they're all
that makes
but
sense.
it's all like pre-college. And then these two didn't take, they didn't take any endorsements. So they went to college. I actually had 1-2 in my year, Samantha Peshek. She was in college too. But once college, like you're done, your body's trash by
That's crazy.
22. Yeah, but she's good. College floor routines though are way more fun. That's why like they go viral. And our coach, she retired, Miss Val, but she was like famous for just creating these viral floor routines because they can do a little more with them versus like when like the competitive gymnastics before college. But yeah, they're fun. Like college gymnastics meets are the best.
Oh, I love
Yeah,
so
I mean,
much
the
fun.
energy there is insane.
Yeah. So
I've
fun.
also-
I enjoyed it. I just enjoyed watching it.
Yeah. No,
Rachel,
yeah, they're
did you
great.
watch Athlete A on Netflix yet?
Me?
Yeah, no, I've been meaning to. There's a lot of
Awful.
trauma there, so
But, like, also-
I have to like mentally get myself ready.
Really,
but
it's good, but like I also, if you need me to kill somebody for you, I will do it.
What is that? Athlete A?
So they talk about the sexual.
It's the Larry Nasser stuff. It's really good.
Shit.
Jalen
That is a
One,
fucked
it's-
up story.
It's a fucked up story, but it's such a good documentary.
That's all of gymnastics, though. It's
Yeah.
a fucked up sport. Like there's so much just
Ugh.
shit. I would never put my kids in it. But
Noted,
Jamie if you have
I have a daughter. Yeah, I would.
No, yeah, don't do it. It's great in terms of like what it teaches your body, like your body awareness and that kind of like spatial stuff. It will fuck you up on so many levels, though. I don't recommend it. If you ever notice, like gymnastics is a very one generation sport. You rarely ever see like generations of families or like women or something in it, because I don't think anyone at that level would ever put their kid through it.
Yeah.
No. But Jalen Crawford, Brandon's wife, her sister's in it. She was the UCLA gymnast. They were all UCLA gymnasts as well. But she was one of the first like whistleblowers on Larry Nasser.
Oh, really?
And she's in the athlete. You should watch. It's on Netflix. I haven't seen it yet. I need to like mentally prepare to watch it. But
is he like he's in jail, right? Like in
yeah.
Okay.
He's in jail
those
and
fucking guys.
Piece of shit.
yeah, but it's the whole sport's so bad. It's just like it's in a sport full of abuse. So it's rough.
That's terrible.
I will literally kill anyone.
I'll kill somebody. I don't care.
Yeah, I will. I'm totally fine. Let me know.
It's so hard. You're asking like the biggest problem with it is that because you peak at 16, 15, 16, you're asking, 7-year-old, like 6-year-olds, 7-year-olds, 8-year-olds to have the discipline of like what you guys have as adults as a professional athlete. You're asking but you can't expect young kids, like imagine a 6-year-old having the discipline of an adult professional athlete.
Well, there's no way to do that and took advantage of it.
Right, but there's no way to get children to that level unless there's just some level of manipulation, abuse, etc. You just can't. Yeah.
All right, do you want me to
Trevor,
get the hell
we'll
out
let
of
you
here?
go. No, well, I mean, you don't have to, but we'll let you go play poker. Sorry for taking so much of your
No,
time.
it's just fun. I appreciate you guys having me
No,
on.
Trevor, you're amazing. Thank you so
Yes.
much.
All right.
We'll have you on again to talk about minor leagues.
Yeah.
Oh gosh. All right. We'll see you guys.
Have a good night.
Bye. So that was beyond amazing. I knew Plouffe would be a good guest, but he exceeded the expectations. It was really cool to see combining both the media, baseball, all the sports, because I feel like it's so difficult to find that balance, and I'm glad Plouffe kind of helped us out with that. What did you think, Rachel? We didn't do great with the wine word, but
that's your fault. But so in next week I choose it. But I gave you your chance.
I know I tried and I did fail.
Okay, I'll get us drunk next time. Don't worry. But no, I thought Plouffe was great. I never really had the opportunity to speak with him, but that will not be the last time I speak with him. He's fantastic. And it was great to hear, someone, I think he's very humble, and, he doesn't have I thought he weighed the difficulty of doing both jobs pretty fairly. And it was kind of, it was interesting to hear his take on, being in both roles. And then also seeing he clearly sees the same issues we see.
I'm looking at your bottle. It's perfectly right there in the shot. Just
I'm going to be classier next time, okay?
Yeah, I just love that you're drinking from the bottle. I feel like that's such an important thing. Anywho,
it's a vibe, okay? Drink. Believe it or not, we're not drunk. That drunk.
It's such a vibe. Thank you guys for hanging out with us tonight on Cork'd Up. We'll see you next time.